Okay, so this is why women will typically only stay with the men who continue to lie to them in relationships. This is also why you'll notice women will routinely continue sleeping with a guy who constantly lies. Okay? What you have to know and what you have to understand, okay, first off, this is going to take a level of maturity from you as a man to understand these concepts and to internalize this without feeling like it's not fair or anything like that. Like, you have to really just look at how things are, and that's what I'm here to help you with. Okay, so women choose to stay with the men who continue to facilitate the fantasy and the fun that they're looking for by stimulating imagination. Okay, the fantasy and the fun that is stimulated through imagination. These are the men that women will gravitate towards. You can be the most perfect guy, the smartest guy, every box checked on paper, but in conversation, if you are too rigid and too logical, her emotions do not work in your favor. So what you'll notice, okay, is that when you are dating a woman, majority of the time that you're going to spend, it is going to be having fun and leisure. Okay, but you're going to notice that this is the opposite to your growth and to your self-development as a man, because your growth and your self-development as a man is going to take structure. Okay, which means hour for hour, you can't just let the day unfold. You have to actually know what you're doing. Okay, however, this is what you're going to notice. Okay, because this is what happens to most guys. They check every box, they're in really good shape, they're making good money, their life is on track, they're doing great, and then she has a conversation with you and she doesn't like you. I'm going to explain why. However, what you'll notice is that in conversation, you will notice that words or sentences that include real logic or any type of like factual statements or information, okay, or overall conversation with lots of meaning and substance, what you'll notice is that over the course of that conversation, she starts to become more and more turned off. The more real life things you talk about, the less she likes you, okay? So this will start to turn her off. So here's what you're going to notice, okay? Women are not attracted to how men naturally communicate when the man is not conscious of the vibe. So if you want to hang out with women or you want to go on a lot of dates, you're basically signing up for a full-time job of conversation, of monitoring the vibe 24/7. That's what you're going to have to do. Because if you don't do this, you're naturally going to start to turn her off. Just keep that in mind. For a lot of you guys out there, if you're wanting these dating lives that are very time consuming, that's what you're going to have to do. Because that's what almost every single guy has to do. So keep that in mind. So moving on to this column, okay, to hold a woman's interest in a relationship, the man has to be conscious of the vibe 24/7, or she just naturally will start to get turned off. The longer of time you spend with her, the more she starts to not like you. So it's basically like a full-time job. It doesn't really matter how many tattoos you have, how many piercings you have, how many big muscles that you have. If the conversation's not on point, she doesn't like you. Okay, this is what you're going to notice. So, when your sentences become structured or real or logical, okay, could be about anything. Could be about your work life, your career. It could be about projects you're working on. You will notice that her interest just fades. Or you'll notice that a lot of times what will happen is like, she might just change the topic or grab her cell phone and go on social media. Okay, you're going to notice that there's just disinterest. When your sentences become structured, that's what happens. You'll also notice how majority of times, if you still try to make a point and you're continuously talking about something real, okay, or something structured, you'll notice that her vocal tone becomes slightly combative and disinterested. This is what you're going to notice. So the reason why I'm going to title this video something along the lines of how women choose to stay in relationships with men who will routinely lie to them, it's because the only way that that man facilitates a lasting relationship is by choosing to continue to communicate in this kind of pattern. And the second he stops communicating in that type of pattern, the fantasy and the imagination is now over and it's no longer fun for her. So keep that in mind. This is why you'll notice women dating or sleeping with guys who are broke. Maybe they have no future. Maybe these guys don't have a car. Maybe this guy's constantly partying. Maybe this guy is basically living just carefree and in the moment, okay? It's because she notices, okay, that with these men, it's very easy to get the leverage in the relationship. So this type of man, it's very easy for him to follow her agenda, and this is what she likes, okay? So it's very easy for her to get the leverage in the relationship because she now found a man who will constantly go along in the relationship on her terms. Okay, this is what you're going to notice. Now, the second that this guy wants to start doing things his way, okay, it ruins the agenda in her mind, and now she will start to exit. So this is what you have to understand. A woman's attraction for you is all of the mind. It's what fantasy and imagery you can create through imagination. This is how a woman stays engaged and attracted to a man, okay? So you have to understand the agenda in a woman's mind. Not only is it rooted in fantasy, but you have to really understand that there is almost at all times an agenda in her mind. There's an agenda day to day for how she wants that day to go. There's an agenda week by week for how she wants to plan her future. She's going to run the relationship with her own agenda, okay? And what she's going to do along the relationship is just find the man suitable to fit that agenda. If you are in a relationship right now with a woman, or if you're dating a woman right now, or if you're married to a woman right now, it's because she views you as the type of guy who will complete that fantasy or that narrative for her at this point right now in her life. Do not think for 1 second that there's anything more behind it than just that. So you'll notice that women will have an agenda. Now, this could even be something as simple as an agenda day to day. Majority of women, when they wake up, you'll notice this. Saturday morning, she wants the day to go a very specific way. She wants to plan the whole thing, hour for hour, second by second, minute by minute, whatever. She wants to be here at this time doing this, and hopefully by the end of the night end up over here with this guy potentially and do this. This is an example. Now, listen closely. Women have an agenda. This could be something even as simple, okay, as right there in the moment, day to day. This is what you have to understand. This could be something as simple as travel or shopping or, let's say, going to a specific restaurant, going and meeting up with specific friends, anything, okay? This is where this gets very interesting. Why did I title the video, Why Women Choose to Stay with Men Who Oftentimes Will Routinely Lie to Them? Or I'll title it something along those lines. Why did I do that? I'm going to show you. Let's take guy number 1 versus guy number 2. Let's say there's a plan for the whole day. So this is A and this is Z. A through Z. This is the start of the day, this is the end of the day. She has an agenda or a plan for how that day should go, okay? Now, maybe you see that this plan could be improved on. You're going to notice she doesn't want to hear that. So let me give you an example. So with guy number 1 right here, let's say he plans the correct way to do things that makes the most amount of sense, okay? He plans a way to do things for the day or for that evening or for that specific task that makes the most amount of sense. So you say, hey, logically, if we had to find the best way to do things, how would we do it? And let's say guy number 1 has the answer. But let's say this doesn't fit her agenda of what she wants that day. Now let's look at guy number 2. Guy number 2 has a worse plan. Let's say the plan is worse than guy number 1's plan in every way, shape, and form. It's a worse plan, okay? That requires more time and more work and more effort, okay? But let's say it fits the agenda that she wants, okay? Guy number 1 almost instantly becomes a bad vibe, and guy number 2 is now the one that she likes. This was a worse plan with maybe even a worse outcome. But because it fit the structure of how she wanted that day, you will notice that she chooses to stay with him. So this is what you have to understand. In order to live this way, it's going to take a lot of time. And what you have to know and what you have to understand is if you're going to give a lot of time to these relationships, you're going to notice that you're probably going to make less money. You're going to be in way worse shape physically. Okay, so this is what you're going to notice. The reason why men are not able to say no is because they desire to get laid so bad. That's what is basically like dictating almost every single decision that guy starts to do. Is he says, well, how can I lead my whole life with lust? And this is exactly what tends to happen. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're looking to get laid, this is what you have to understand. You are basically willingly biting from what I would call the forbidden fruit. If you want to use the story of Adam and Eve, there's one specific tree or one specific plant or one specific apple, I don't really know, but there's something they shouldn't do, and it's this one thing. You're basically doing that, which means that you are Adam and you are doing exactly what he did, which is following her lead. Now, this is why you'll notice women continue to sleep with these types of guys, because this is how it goes, okay? You are doing what he did, which is following her lead. And this is why women stay with bad men, or men who lie, or men who aren't very masculine, or maybe men who, let's say, just follow her agenda at all times. Women follow fantasy and their emotions and their imagination, okay? And you have to really just accept these things. They follow the fantasy of their own emotions. And all they do is they decide on the guy that's going to fit the narrative or that agenda of that fantasy at that specific point in her life. The second she gets to a different point in her life where she desires a different imagination experience or a different fantasy experience, that guy tends to get left, and she will just find a new replacement that fits that new agenda or that new fantasy of her future life better. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Join us inside the community that I built, where I'm helping men learn, understand, and master the language of women. I teach this better than anybody. I created an entire process that you can just copy paste into your dating life and go. I show you how to attract more women than you've probably ever attracted in your life, and I show you how to retain their interest levels better than you ever have. That means the woman that you really love, or the woman that you really want to be with, I created that program so that way she does not desire to pull away and leave you. I'm giving you literally the best chances of success with the best community and the best support that I have ever seen. I made this. I think it's really good. Right now we have over 2,000 guys inside of that community. Join us inside of it. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.